Can I say something that might feel a little uncomfortable, but also really relieving? If your career feels harder than it should, like you're doing everything right, you're successful on paper, you're dependable, you're smart, but somehow you still feel overlooked, underpaid, or stuck, that's not because you're not doing enough. And it's definitely not because you're not capable. It's because hard work stops being the deciding factor at the level you're trying to reach, and no one tells women that. In this episode, I'm talking about why your career feels heavier than it should, what most high performing women misunderstood about growth, and why the answer is not more effort. If you've ever thought, why does this feel so hard when I know I'm good at what I do? This one's for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're ambitious, capable, and quietly carrying more than your role reflects, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, promotion and compensation coach, and I help women fast track their next promotion by teaching them how to show their value so clearly leadership can't overlook them. Here, we talk about career advancement, visibility, burnout recovery, and building confidence without burning yourself out or shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's get into it. Let me start with something I know is going to land for a lot of you. If your career feels harder than it should, like you're doing all the right things, hitting your goals, being dependable, being smart, being strategic, but it still feels heavier, slower, more frustrating than it has any right to be, I want you to hear this very clearly right out of the gate. That feeling is data, not drama, not ingratitude, not a mindset issue. It's information. And most high performing women have been taught to ignore it. Because on paper, things look good. You're successful, you're competent, you're respected. You might even be the person other comes to when things fall apart. So when it feels hard, the story you tell yourself is usually something like, well, this is just what ambition costs. Maybe I just need to push a little harder. Everyone at this level feels like this, right? But here's the thing I want to name, and I want to name it gently, not dramatically. When your career is aligned, it doesn't feel like constant resistance. Growth can be stretching, yes. Leadership can be uncomfortable, yes. But it should not feel like you're swimming upstream every single day while pretending everything's fine. And if it does, that's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're likely mispositioned. Most women never hear that word applied to their careers. We hear things like confidence, executive presence, advocacy, resilience, but almost no one names positioning, especially for women who are already high performing at a high level. And what ends up happening is this quiet, exhausting loop. You're capable but overlooked, trusted but not promoted, valued in theory but underpaid in reality. You're doing work that matters, but somehow you're not being seen as the obvious next level leader. And instead of questioning the system or the model, you start questioning yourself. You wonder if you need another credential, another leadership style, another personality adjustment. Maybe you think, if I could just be more visible, but not too visible, more confident, but not intimidating, more assertive, but still likable. That tension right there, that's the pain. And most women don't say it out loud because they're afraid it sounds ungrateful. So let me say it for you. It is deeply frustrating to be excellent and still feel like you're stuck proving it. It's exhausting to know you're capable of more while feeling like the system only sees a fraction of what you bring. And it is confusing when the harder you work, the less it seems to move the needle. Here's the relief part, and this matters. The problem is not that you're missing something. The problem is that you're operating under a success model that stops working at the level you're trying to reach. Early in our careers, effort does equal reward. Doing more gets you noticed, being reliable builds trust. But at higher levels, effort becomes assumed, competence becomes the baseline, and visibility, not loud visibility, but strategic clarity, becomes the deciding factor. This is where so many high performing women get stuck because no one ever tells them the rules quietly change. So you keep doing what worked before. You keep saying yes. You keep carrying more. You keep being the steady one. And leadership looks at you and thinks, she's great where she is. Not because you aren't promotable, but because your value isn't positioned in a way that forces a different conversation. That's the part that hurts to hear. And also the part that sets you free. Because once you realize the issue is positioning, not worth, you stop trying to fix yourself. You stop spiraling into what's wrong with me? And you start asking a much more powerful question. How am I currently being seen? And how does that differ from the level I want to reach? Most women assume that if leadership really understood their value, things would change. But leadership doesn't experience your effort the way you do. They experience what's visible, what's articulated, and what's already framed as leadership level impact. That's not a character flaw, it's how organizations work. And when no one explains that, women internalize the gap as a personal failure. So if your career feels harder than it should, I want you to consider this reframe. What if the friction you're feeling isn't resistance, but a signal that your identity has outgrown your current positioning? What if you're not tired because you're weak, but because you're over efforting in a role that no longer fits how you create value? That's a very different story than I need to try harder. And it opens the door to a very different kind of growth. The women I work with are not underperformers. They're high achievers who are tired of playing a game that rewards output over authority. They don't need motivation, they need clarity. Clarity about how they naturally lead. Clarity about what makes their value undeniable. Clarity about what next level requires a different relationship with visibility, not hours or more hustle. And if you've been feeling that quiet ache of, I know I'm meant for more, but I don't know why it feels so hard to get there, I want you to sit with this today. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not asking for too much. You are standing at the edge of a different way of leading, one that requires less proving and more precision. We'll talk a lot more about that in future episodes, but for now, let this be the relief. Your experience makes sense, and the answer is not more effort. It's a different approach entirely. You got this. I'll see you next time. If today's episode sparked something for you, a question, an idea, or a realization, don't ignore it. I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your current role, your goals, and how to position you for your next promotion or raise without burning out or overworking. You can book that call using the link in the description. And if this episode helped you, sharing it or leaving a quick review makes a bigger difference than you know. Until next time, keep showing your value clearly. You've earned it.